This is Root Literacy Design, where we share stories, tips, and tools for educators implementing evidence-based literacy. Please take a moment to like and subscribe to our channel so we can keep helping educators like you.
Vowel, consonant, consonant, line. This is closed, so make a short sound. Eh. This is closed, so make a short sound. Eh. X. Extend. This consonant, consonant, vowel, vowel, line. This is closed, so I'll make a short sound. Ah. This is open, so make a long sound. O. Combo.
Today we are going to be learning how to divide multisyllabic words by syllables. This requires knowledge of syllable types, which we are not going to be going into during this video. If you are unsure what syllable types are, we do have a video going over that, and I recommend you head over and watch that before viewing this one. So this is called syllable division. There are 6 main patterns that you're going to teach students to look for, and this is how they are going to not guess at vowel sounds and get the vowel sounds correct on the first try. Without a strategy like what I'm about to show you, students might sound out words like this: egg, eat, magnet, ag, eat, magnet. You're gonna see them guessing at vowel sounds. If you have a student going sound by sound like this, they need this strategy. So the first syllable division pattern that we're going to be learning is when you have a vowel followed by 2 consonants and then another vowel. We call this the CCCV. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to teach students to mark the vowels that make a sound and look between them and mark what they see. I see a G, that's a consonant, an N, that's a consonant. And as our poster shows us, when you see this pattern, you always divide between the 2 consonants. Now, this is where the knowledge of syllable types comes in. And again, I'm not explaining this during this video, but we do have another video for that. MAG is closed, so I'm going to mark it CL for closed. A says ah, marking it short. NET is closed. E says eh, magnet. Now, the reason we tell students to mark the vowels that make a sound is because when you see an E at the end of a word, it's not making a sound, it's silent, it has another job. In this case, the E is making the I say its name because it's a vowel consonant E pattern. And so I'm going to mark my vowels that make a sound, look between them. M is a consonant, B is a consonant. When I see this pattern, I divide between the consonants. COM is closed, O says ah. BINE is a vowel consonant E syllable type. I says I, so I'm marking it long. Combine. So as you can see, this is really helpful for students because you're breaking down a larger word into each syllable and you're giving them a path forward to mark the vowel sounds and not be guessing at them, which is the main problem when they are reading multisyllabic words, is they don't know the vowel sound. The next syllable division pattern we're going to look at is when you have 2 vowels with 1 consonant in between them. So same thing, we're going to mark the vowels that make a sound. We're going to look between them. I see 1 consonant. When I see this pattern VCV, I always try to divide after the first vowel first. If that doesn't work, then I move it over after the consonant. BA is open, A says A, the I is closed in, I says eh. Basin. Now, I've seen some people get confused because they think that the IR is R controlled. Just because an R is next to a vowel doesn't mean that it's acting as the R controlled syllable type. It could just be a consonant. So you want to do the same thing where you mark the vowels that make a sound, look between them. I see 1 consonant. I divide after the first vowel first. I is open. I says I. U is closed in, U says virus. So the word is not virus. IR is not saying it's not acting as an R controlled syllable type. So if you follow the syllable division pattern and break it after the first vowel. That's how you'll tell that the word is virus and not virus. Okay, so what happens if that doesn't work? I mark my vowels that make a sound. I look between them. I divide after the first vowel. The A is open, it says A. The I is closed in, it says I. But the word is not cabin. Well, this is where you teach students to try again and move it over. So I mark my vowels that make a sound, I look between them, but now I'm gonna move my division line over after the consonant. The A is closed, it says ah. The I is closed, it says I, cabin. So we teach students to divide after the first vowel the first try, because this is the most common way that words are divided and read. You don't want them starting with the less common way. We want them to have success on the first try as much as possible. So you go with what they're going to see more often first, and you teach them to move it over and divide after the consonant if it doesn't work on the first try. Now, this is where oral language and vocabulary are really important, because students might read this and think it might be a word they don't know, like cabin. So I always teach students, if they don't know the word, if they've never heard of it, just try it and move it over, and try both ways, cabin, 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 cabin. If they're still not sure, then you need to build their oral language and vocabulary. You need to tell them. You have to say, well, the word is cabin. Maybe show them a picture, talk about it. Have you ever stayed in a cabin? You ever seen a cabin? But you do want students, I always ask students to tell me, well, what are the two ways it could be? How could you say this word? And I want them to be able to say cabin and cabin. And from there, I say, correct, those are the two ways it could be. The word is cabin. The next syllable division pattern that we're going to look at is when you have three consonants between the vowels. So as always, we're going to mark the vowels that make a sound. We're going to look between them. I see three consonants. And from there, what we want to teach students when there's three consonants, it most likely is going to divide after the first consonant, but the main thing is we want to keep digraphs and consonant clusters together. Some programs call them blends, so either way you call it, consonant cluster or blend, you're going to try to teach students to keep those together. So the first syllable here, U is closed in, U says and the second syllable, E is closed in and says eh. The word is hundred. Now let's say that students divided this differently. Let's say that they marked the vowels, they marked the consonants, but then they divided it after the D. It's not that big of a deal. The vowel is still closed in and says the E is still closed in and says hundred, hundred. The reason it just feels a little awkward to us is because we're used to saying the der together and not ending with the d and beginning with the r. But you can still get there. But in general, the rule is that you want to divide after the first consonant. Now let's do another one. We're going to mark the vowels that make a sound. Look between them. I see a consonant, consonant, consonant. In this case, PH is a digraph, so we're going to be keeping that together. We cannot divide it. If we divide it, then it's dulp-hin, dulp-hin, and that is not the case. So we teach students to look for digraphs to keep them together. Because that has to be together, I know I need to divide here. And look, again, it is right after that first consonant. O is closed in and says ah, I is closed in and says dolphin. The next syllable division pattern we're going to look at is when there are four consonants between the vowels. So as always, mark your vowels that make a sound, look between them. Now I see four consonants. It's the same thing as when there are three between. We are going to look for keeping consonant clusters and digraphs together. In this case, we often see STR together at the start of words, such as street. So it might be nice to guide students to notice that and break the word here. And then we have O closed in, O says ah. U is closed in, U says Again, not a big deal if students instead divide it here. They're still going to get there. Construct, construct. So you don't have to worry too much. The main thing is you're never going to divide it after the vowel. The vowel will not be open. and it's never going to be divided over here. So it's going to be somewhere between the consonants. And just guide students again to look for those consonant clusters and digraphs. Now, even with something like this is a compound word. Teachers often say, well, can't I just tell them to look for the word with and look for the word stand? You have to remember the students can't read the word, and the purpose of this strategy is to give them a path to do so. And so if they can't read it, tell them to look for syllable division and guide them to mark the vowels that make a sound, look between them. In this case, we have a digraph that cannot be divided, so it's not going to be wit and then HST. So we're going to keep that together, which means that I'm going to divide my word here. So now the I is closed in and says eh, and the A is closed in, and this is our nasal sound because the A is next to an N. So it's saying ah, withstand. All right. Next, we're going to look at the vowel-vowel syllable division pattern. In this case, the vowels are not acting as a vowel team and are next to each other and need to be divided. One way that I know that the word create is not Crete, it's not EA coming together as a vowel team Crete, is I have this silent E at the end, which is signaling there's a job it's doing here. In this case, it's a vowel consonant E syllable and it's making the A say its name. So without the E, the word would be Crete. It would be a vowel team, but this E is signaling, hey, there's something else going on. So in this syllable division pattern, same as always, we're going to guide students to mark the vowels that make a sound. There is no consonant in between them. When we see two vowels next to each other, we're going to divide between them. O is open and says O, E is closed and says eh, poet. In this word, same thing, mark the vowels that make a sound. E is not making a sound. Remind students it has a different job and it is silent. We see the vowels next to each other, so we're going to divide between them. E is open and says E, and the second syllable is a vowel consonant E. A is saying A, create. The last syllable division pattern that we're going to look at is the consonant LE pattern. And in this pattern, you want to teach students to count back 3 and divide. Consonant LE, count back 3 and divide. 1, 2, 3. You can have them do the numbers above or not if it's too confusing to be numbering backwards. They can just point and go 1, 2, 3, divide the word. U is closed and says and this is bowl, bubble. In this word here, count back 3, divide. A is open and says A. BLE is bowl, table. This word here, count back 3 and divide. EA is a vowel team saying E, and GLE says goal, be-goal. And the last word, count back 3 and divide. AR is R controlled and says R. KLE says coal, sparkle.
So children, if you have a word and you don't know what it is, then you mark the vowels, you mark the consonants in between. It's most likely to split between the vowel and the consonant, so you split it there. And then this is the E is not, it's closed in by the N, so it's closed, and this is open because the A is, there's nothing blocking the A, so A says A, and then E says E, and the word is raven.
Round of applause.